Our guest in the studio this morning, Paul Kaye, Britain's consul to Thailand. Once again, good morning.
Morning, Tommy.
Looking at questions that have been sent in by listeners and viewers from YouTube, we are going to grill you on these.
All right.
So let's kick off with one. We're not going to use any names for listeners because some of this, can be a bit personal and stuff like that.
That's fine. I mean, if there's anything that people want to discuss that is personal and not appropriate for broadcast, I'm happy to give out details on how people can contact us.
Oh, okay, good. We can do that at the end of the show.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, well, but before we start, hang on. There we go. These are fabulous. There's a fabulous 103 T-shirt for you and one for each of your boys. There we go.
I don't know what to say.
Well, don't forget to declare them. That's all I can say. Declare them.
Yeah.
You get, a gift.
On the gifts register.
Bribery and corruption. It
They're
works
probably
well, doesn't it?
worth a lot of money. These aren't they?
Absolutely. And if Megan signs it, it's worth even more.
Oh, okay. Extra large. Are you saying?
That's for
what
it's Thai extra large,
all right,
which is about medium.
Yeah, that should fit me fine.
Our very first question this morning. My Thai wife and I have adopted a Thai boy, little boy. He was a baby when they adopted him. He's named on the adoption certificate. The certificate's been issued by the courts. It's all been approved by Thais, by the Thai, Thai establishment. He's not on the birth certificate. How can I go about getting him a British passport?
Okay, I'm going to, at the risk of starting to sound a bit like a stuck record during this interview, I'm going to be saying about passport queries and visa queries as well for the UK. Have you looked on gov.uk? Because gov.uk is the best place and really the only place to get up-to-date, reliable information on things like passports, renewing passports, getting new passports for people, for children, getting visas for the UK. Or people really do need to go to gov.uk for that.
Right, and then apply to Liverpool for the passport, presumably.
It can be. I mean, yes. I mean, it can be quite a long process at the moment, unfortunately. But that's the process that they need to go through. And gov.uk is actually really clear. I don't know if you've tried going through it. It's worth having a look and seeing what the sort of customer journey is through that. But it is actually very user friendly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say to your listener, look on gov.uk first.
Right.
See,
okay.
And then if it's if you still have questions that aren't answered there, then there are, again, you can. I mean, I've said I was going to talk, give some details about how you can contact us. But I can say now, when we've got a web form that people can put questions on as well.
And how do you get to that web form?
So, the easiest way. I mean, I can give you the whole address, but that's a bit unwieldy. The easiest way to do it is to search for help for British people in Thailand.
Really?
Yeah, I've got one of my team to check this, and
help for British people in Thailand.
And the first thing that will come up is the web form, and then you put your query in there, hit send.
And how quickly do you get a reply?
It depends on the urgency, but pretty quickly. I mean, if
okay, so there is somebody at the other end.
Oh yeah, 24 hours. 24/7, there's somebody there. If it's an urgent query, which may eventually end up on my desk, then it'll be very fast indeed, as you can appreciate.
Right.
If it's about somebody who's vulnerable.
Because you do have a 24-hour consular service, don't you,
we
for
do.
Emergencies?
24/7, 365, yeah.
Right.
We do, yeah.
So you just look for that, you look up the number for the British Embassy?
I can give you that number now as well, if you want.
Yes.
I came prepared this time.
1-800-HELP-ME.
So, 0230 5833.
So really, that you can't answer the question directly. You can only tell us how we could get the answer.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here, to use the technical term, is signposting.
Right.
So what we do when we get queries about things like renewing a passport, getting a new passport, visas, we signpost people to the right information. We don't have that information ourselves, and it changes all the time as well. It's another important
signpost. You mean direct?
Exactly. Signposting civil service language, Tommy.
Really?
Yeah. Signpost. We don't direct.
I know, but you got your degree in English language. I thought you'd be able to say direct.
English literature, actually, not language.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, ask me about...
Chaucer.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, don't ask me about Chaucer, please.
All right, let's move on to a different question. When the British consul comes on the show, please ask him how to renew a British passport while living in Pattaya. The consulate information online is not very clear. Now, I've also got a second email with the same thing. When the British company is there, please ask him how to renew a British passport while living in Pattaya. It really is not clear on the website. Now, this actually applies to me and to the midget because we need to renew our passports.
Right. Do we know what it is that's not clear on the website?
Well, obviously, it's not a very clear website.
Well, I wonder if they're looking at the right website. I mean, it must be, surely, because, again, it's going on to gov.uk. And
Okay, how do I renew my passport? This is the question. Tell me.
On gov.uk.
Can I not take it to the British Embassy?
No, we don't manage passports.
Okay.
No, we don't.
So you have to use this website, gov.uk.
Yeah, but if people are having real difficulties with it, and I recognise that these sort of digital channels for delivering things isn't everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
Far from it, and some people just can't or don't or aren't able to use those particular ways of getting a service from us. Drop us a line, and we'll see if we can help.
So there isn't anywhere in Bangkok that you would send a passport to for renewal?
You submit your application online, and then you do need to go to Bangkok to VFS.
VFS. So that's the place where you go for your girlfriend to get a visa to go to, isn't it?
Also, yeah.
The Happy Building or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's the building called? The Lucky Building.
Trendy Building.
Trendy Building. Yeah. So you fill in the form. And then you would need to take your passport to the Trendy Building, and then you would need to go back a couple of weeks later when they notify you to pick up your new one.
Well, at the moment, it takes longer than a couple of weeks.
Right.
But again, if you go online, this information is available about how long it's taking at the moment.
Okay.
But that's quite an important point, actually, that people should plan for.
I need to.
I mean, we do get regularly queries from people saying, I'm going back to the UK, my passport expires on this date, I need to renew it. Can I do it in the time I've got? I mean, plan ahead is the basic message here.
Right.
If people cannot renew a passport and they need to travel urgently, we can help with that.
Yes, tell us about an emergency passport.
Yeah, so an ETD, an emergency travel document, is like a passport.
But it's for one journey?
No, it can be for, well, it's issued for one journey, but that journey can involve several stages, if you like. Yeah.
So you couldn't use it for like 2 months?
No.
One journey if you're going from here to England via Bahrain or something like that?
Yeah. You could
and you get that from you?
And back again.
That's issued by the consular services?
Again, you apply online, and then you would come to, and we issue it.
gov.co.uk?
Gov.uk.
That's it, just gov.uk. Okay.
Yeah.
So you fill out the form on there.
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, because
but we are more involved in that than passports, because you would come to Bangkok and we would give you the ETD. Right.
One of the jobs you do is you notarise documents, don't you? Why are you not happy about that, are you?
No. It's an important service, and we do a range of notarial and documentary services. So I'm just thinking, I don't know a lot about what the detail, and so I'm just wondering what you're going to ask me next.
Well, actually, it's an interesting question. Mr. Jones or Mr. Brown comes to Thailand and amazingly falls in love with a Thai lady and decides he wants to marry her.
Yep.
To get married, he needs a document from you certifying that he's divorced. In the UK, the records for divorce records are destroyed after X number of years and you can't access them anymore. So if you've lost your decree absolute, you wouldn't have it to bring to you. Would you issue a notice saying that I was divorced, even if I gave you my word but didn't have documents to prove it?
There's one point about the what you're asking me, and my short answer is, I mean, on supporting documentation in this particular example, I don't know, but I will find out for you. Generally, there's a point of principle here which is interesting for me. Like, we cannot take your word on anything.
That's nice, isn't it?
Even you, Tommy.
I'm British, good Lord.
I know.
I could put my hand on the Bible and say,
you could.
You do in court.
Yeah, you don't in the embassy.
No trust involved in it.
Lots of trust, but we also need supporting documentation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because absolutely, this is true. Solicitors destroy all documentation after something like 6 or 8 years, maybe 10. And lots of people have lost the paperwork. They might have the decree nisi, as this chap's got, but they haven't got the decree absolute. And nor's his wife, ex-wife.
Get him to drop us a line.
I will.
I'll check it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, as I say, I don't know a lot about the sort of technical details around some of our notarial services.
Right. Going to give you one more question before we go to the local national news. But you may not like this one. Mind you, you probably won't know most of the questions we ask you. Could you ask the consul if they are considering bringing back the pension confirmation letters of proof of income, and maybe he could have a clinic in Pattaya, which I think is a great idea, maybe twice a month or every 2 months, to help the British expats over here, such as myself, and I am sure a lot of others, are feeling a bit left out and let down at times by our embassy. That's the question.
Okay, so there's 2 questions there.
Yeah.
Isn't there? One's about pension letters.
Yes.
And the answer to that is no.
You're not going to do it?
No. We won't.
That's because actually you have to give an undertaking to the Thai government, which you can't get from anywhere else.
Precisely.
And if I remember rightly, that's based on the fact that you have all these privacy laws in England, so you can't go to get somebody's pension, proof of pension. You can't apply to their ex-employer.
That's part of it. Yeah, we cannot provide that verification for the Thai authorities. So and that. I mean, you never say never, do you? But the short answer to the question, are you going to bring it back, is no, we're not. There are no plans to bring that back.
Okay. What about a surgery? I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, the surgery is an interesting idea, yeah. I mean, I know that quite a lot of people in places like Pattaya have contact with our honorary consul down here. And my on-cons in the other places around Thailand as well, my agents do a good job of having that contact. We don't really have any sort of formal process of surgeries. Yeah, it's a nice idea. I'll take it away. Yeah.
Well, before you came here, you weren't here when they closed the British consulate here, were you?
No, I wasn't.
One of the undertakings that we were given was that teams would come to those areas where they closed down the consulates, yes, not to come on the radio only, but like a surgery.
Yeah.
And they did one. The whole idea was that they would have meetings, maybe at a hotel. We'll give you the space downstairs. We've got plenty of it.
You have.
Where people can come, like they do with an MP in the UK, and pose a question or listen to what you've got to say, where you bring people up to date and they can pose their questions. There's a lot of areas now that don't have consulate officers anymore. We have voluntary consul, who's very good, Bert, but that's not his job to give out advice. His job is to liaise between somebody who's got a problem and you.
Correct. It's a good point, and I'm sorry if we made a commitment there and we didn't follow through on it, or we weren't able to. We've what we call these town halls.
Town hall meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the things have been a little bit difficult over the last.
Obviously, with COVID, that would be different. Yes,
more limited. But I can definitely take away and talk to my team about it. Yeah. How do you think it would go if we came back?
I think it would go very well. I think you have a lot of expats in this town, British. They'd like to see somebody that represents their own country. They'd like to hear what you've got that's new. For example, the fact today or yesterday we're hearing that you can travel to Britain now without having to test for COVID.
Yeah.
But all the stuff, all the questions that people have, and maybe they can pose questions. Let's give you more of the questions that have been sent in. I have to congratulate you because during the pause, you changed into a much more official attire.
I know. And
you look more like a British consul now.
I feel a lot more the part now, yeah.
Yes.
And a lot more relaxed because of the excellent material.
Yes. Okay, here we go. On the 9th of February, received a COVID booster vaccine courtesy of the British Chamber of Commerce. Last year, they were exemplary in compiling a list of their compatriots in need and organising a vaccination programme. So did the French. But shouldn't that have been the job of the British Embassy? If ever there's an emergency, the last 2 years were it. There can be little confidence that the British Embassy bothers very much about its expat citizens when it really matters. I told you it was going to be easy, didn't I?
Yeah. So taking the last point first, we really do bother about our expat community when it matters.
But the injections didn't matter. That's what this gentleman's saying.
Yeah, he is saying that. I agree. But there's a lot of what happens to the expat community here that we really care about. There's a few principles around why we weren't able to provide vaccines to British nationals here. One of the things, and one of the most important, as people know, is that we cannot provide medical care of any kind in other countries. That just not what the
That's
embassy
a British
does.
law.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a law. But
Regulation.
The embassy cannot provide medical
But the French
care,
can.
apparently. Yeah. Yes.
So you're not allowed to help, aid or assist in medical emergencies.
We help people get the medical care that they need.
How did you
in
do
an
that?
Emergency.
This was an emergency. What did you do to help British expats for COVID?
Right. So there's a few things at sort of different levels. At an information level, we collated and provided as much up-to-date information as we could, as regularly as we could, about the vaccine offer that the Thai government was providing.
Right.
So we invited people to register for a bulletin. We sent that out on a weekly basis. I think it went up to 3 times a week at one point. And over a period of time, so people had the best information in a really rapidly moving situation, as you know.
Yes,
it's very
changing,
difficult to do.
almost by the day.
Yeah, so I had a dedicated team who were just working on getting that gathering that information and pushing it out. At a higher level, we were doing a lot of work lobbying the Thai authorities to make sure that the vaccine offer was fair and equal to everybody who lives in Thailand.
Well, you failed on that, didn't you?
No, I don't think we did fail.
We only got free vaccinations when some country made a massive donation to Thailand specifically for expats. And then we could go to Bangkok Pattaya Hospital or to the hospital in Bangkok itself and register, and we could get the free vaccinations. What did you do to get us vaccinations?
Well, as I've just said, I mean, we couldn't provide.
It's a serious question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm taking it seriously. We couldn't provide vaccinations ourselves directly. The donation of vaccinations that we made went into the Thai national program, based on the idea that everybody needed before. If not everybody is safe, and nobody's safe. We had to. The aim was to get everybody in Thailand vaccinated, and we supported the Thais in that.
Right.
We, as I said, we lobbied the Thais or talked to the Thais at lots and lots of levels about the importance of it being fair and open. It was a difficult process, yeah, and access was difficult in lots of places. And where we could identify areas where there were issues and raise our concerns about access, we did. But we couldn't provide the vaccines ourselves.
Right.
I mean, it was a really, really mixed picture across all of Thailand. And I think there are still some issues. There are. But we will continue to engage.
I think it's been resolved now
Thais.
because the hospitals, which amazed me actually, Bangkok Pattaya Hospital was the prime one, free for them. They used their staff to give out the Pfizer, which was donated specifically, I think, from America for expats in general.
Yeah.
In this country and other countries.
Yeah, well, we would never make a distinction between expats and Thai nationals if we're donating vaccines to Thailand.
Right.
It goes into the national program.
Right.
We then need to make sure that national program works fairly and as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our focus.
I did see these are tough ones that are coming in. The next one for you.
Oh, there we go.
Unfair treatment by the British government of pensioners living in Thailand. Why does the British government refuse to update pension payments to those of its eligible citizens living in Thailand? The government can spend millions on so-called asylum seekers. I don't know what the proper word is for that. Economic migrants, I believe, is what they're called. Yet can't support those of us who've paid national insurance or stamp all our years and are now entitled to our pension rights. And what he's getting on about is that when you do get the retirement, which they keep on extending the years anyway, so I'm never going to get it, I think it'll be 104. Once you get your pension, you get it at that set level. So say it's 120 quid a week. I don't know what it is, right? But if you don't live in the UK, you will never get the increases. So when the government increases the national pension for all British people, it excludes anybody who's not registered living in the UK. Do you think that's unfair?
I don't know enough about it to have a view of my own on it. People raise it with us through various channels. Again, it's going back to the sort of stuck record point. I mean, we don't manage the pension programs. That's a DWP issue. I mean, what I've always said to people, and I know it's not very helpful, but what I've said is if you have concerns and you pass them to us, we will pass them on if you can't do that directly.
You can get the increases if you have a registered abode in the UK.
Okay.
So if you're registered at living, the catch is, of course, that usually, like people like me, the place I would choose to register would be my mother's house. But because she lives on her own, she gets an allowance because she's a single-person occupancy. And if I register there on the electoral roll, they'll take her allowance away because they'll assume that I'm really living there. So it's a very difficult situation for a lot of people. Thought about travelling home to the UK in maybe April, but I hear the UK is lifting all restrictions. What do you know about that?
Have a look on gov.uk for the latest, really. I mean, it's very clear that if you Google going back to the UK, you'll get the latest situation and what you need to do.
But they are lifting all the restrictions.
It changes all the time.
Boris announced yesterday.
The restrictions, it's definitely lifting some restrictions. I don't know how far it's going to go, but the best place, certainly not me, the best place to get the most up-to-date information about that is on gov.uk.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there was a second part, there was a question that came in that I don't have in here. And I appreciate that you've got delays with visas for people wanting to visit the UK, spouses, girlfriends, whatever, boyfriends.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that they pay to get their visas, and there's a set time that you're supposed to get a response, and they're being asked for extra money for a speedier response. Do you know anything about that?
For a priority service?
Yes.
Yeah, there is a priority service on offer. Yeah.
Well, what does that entail?
You pay more and you get it quicker.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's a second class and first class visas process.
There's a normal service and there's a priority service.
Right. Is that from your people? Is that from the government, or is that the agency that you employ to do the visa processing?
I imagine, I don't know the answer to that question, but I imagine that's a central policy.
Right.
That won't be the agency, because that's offered in various places, not just Thailand.
Okay.
But I don't know, honestly, I don't know enough about it, as it's visas for the UK.
Right.
I know that at the moment there are some delays in the visa processing. I think that if you go onto the VFS website or, again, gov.uk, you can get the latest on how long the processing is taking. I know there are delays. They're trying to catch up.
Do you manage VFS?
No.
Who does?
UKVI, UK Visas and Immigration manage.
So because they are a contractor.
Right, yeah.
That's employed to do this process. A lot of people are not impressed with them. You must get an awful lot of complaints about them.
No, actually, don't. Consulate team, no. We don't get a lot of complaints about them, because I think UKVI have their own channels for
complaints line.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to go through you.
Yeah. I mean, we work alongside them on some things, and if people have feedback, I mean, all I can offer here is if people have feedback on them and it comes to me, then I'll pass it on. Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to go out with one final question. How many Brits are currently in Thai jails?
Okay, so I don't have an exact figure. It does change quite a lot, as you can imagine.
Well, based on arrests, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but also on who is released from jail as well, of course, because they don't spend their whole lives there. But I think at the moment we've probably got between 50 and 60, I'd like to say.
50 and 60?
Yeah, between that.
Does that include people that are in the immigration detention centre?
No, the IDC, so they're not prisoners, they're detainees.
There's a difference, right?
Yeah, there is, yeah. And the numbers at the moment are much smaller. I think we have about 4 or 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no more than that in the IDC. Yeah, and then obviously hopefully they're only there for a very short period of time.
So what you're saying is Brits are getting away with more crime than they used to? Because we used to have much higher figures than that.
I think there are less people here who go on who overstay their visas and get picked up.
Yes.
Yeah, less tourists, yeah.
We're going to leave on 2 nice, comfortable questions.
Oh, yeah.
You've been the British consul now for 4 years, nearly. I think it's 3 years and 8 months. What are you most proud of in the success of the consular service?
I'm proud of I'm proud of my team, without a doubt. I'm proud of what they've done to help really vulnerable British nationals here, often going through the worst experiences of their lives. and sadly for some of them losing their lives, and what my team have done to help them and their families and next of kin. And that's what I'm proud of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had to choose some areas that you'd like to improve in the consular services, what would they be?
So I think I'll be saying to my successor, as soon as you can, going back to your point actually about town halls, as soon as you can, you need to get out and talk to the British community here.
Brilliant.
Because the British community here has changed dramatically over the last year and a half, and they've been through a hell of a lot. They're amazing people and survivors, and they've also done, I should say, have done an awful lot for their local communities, which never ceases to
Especially in this town.
Yeah, there's some amazing examples of British people contributing. But it's a new set of customers for us. It's the expat community.
Why do you call them customers?
I don't know.
Is that an official word for us, customers?
I think it's actually changed. It used to be customers, definitely, and I think it's just, I mean, what, British people? Do you want to say British people instead?
British citizens.
British citizens. Yeah, but anyway, there are British people out there. Their needs have changed, and we're seeing that in the case types that are worrying us more now, which are more about the situation that they're living in with COVID, the changes in their economic circumstances, things like that. And if things are difficult, so I would say get out there now that you can, and start talking.
So you would accept now, which was the viewpoint before you actually got the job, was the opposite viewpoint. The viewpoint when they closed all the consulates was that we have electronic ways of contacting people now. We've got emails and chats and everything else, and we don't need face-to-face. People have turned around now and realised that a face-to-face experience has a lot more value to people than a chat or an email or anything else. It's that face-to-face thing, like we're doing now. We could have done this on a streaming thing, but this is a face-to-face, real conversation. So that has a much greater value, doesn't it?
It's a really good point. I kind of half agree with you. I think it needs to be a blended approach. So the face-to-face is, yes, of course, really, really important, especially when people are really vulnerable. And that's why we've got our network, and we've got our network of volunteers as well on the ground to provide that face-to-face support, initial support especially.
But the town hall idea...
Yeah, I mean, talking to
idea.
the British community, so it's slightly different from the assistance work that we do. I mean, the digital stuff is developing, it's getting better and better, and it's a really important part of what we offer.
A lot of people just don't like it.
No, I get that, and as I say, if people struggle with the digital services that we provide, then let us know, and we'll find other ways to do things, of course.
PAUL KAYE, British Consul, Her Majesty's British Consul to Thailand. Thank you so much for being on the show with us this morning.
My pleasure. It's lovely to come down. Thank you so much for the T-shirts.
We hope we see you again very soon. Don't forget to declare the shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, you know what happens when you don't do things like that, don't you?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.